Because a lot of times, as we know, they call it a boring sport, but yet I think that's for the people that don't really know what's going on, the inner workings of a baseball practice or a baseball game. Yeah, the balls only inflate for 8 minutes in a 2-hour game, which is crazy because you're like, holy cow, like 8 minutes, that's it, in 2 hours. But all the things that you're doing leading up to that, you're talking to your other position players, you're making sure that the dirt's nice and clean, you're watching the last pitch, you're anticipating it's going to be hit to you, you're wondering where the ball's going to go, you're reading his swing, there's so much stuff going on that even though the ball itself is only in the air, there's so much chess and checkers that are in a game of baseball and softball that, a lot of people just don't understand that part of it. So keeping the practices fun and engaging and turning them into competitions, make it so much more fun. So Coach Steve, you want to talk a little bit about, how important it is for us to, when we're in practice, to kind of make it more competition and game speed and all that stuff. How can the coaches, a lot of them are 11, 10, 9, 8, keeping them engaged and, all while getting developed?
Yeah, we've discussed this before, but I'm a big fan of creating short, simple stations to keep the kids moving. Practice can get boring if you show up every week and you take ground balls, you take fly balls, you take BP, and you go home. So find new and creative ways to teach the same skill set, but maybe make a competition out of it. Maybe you play defend the line, where you have two teams, trying to keep the ball in front and protect the line, and put maybe a penalty for the team that loses. Maybe they have to run a pole or do some push-ups. Instead of just playing catch or throwing the ball to first base, maybe you put them on a stopwatch, or you play target practice. In a throwing program, you play the points game where, they have a specific plan and a target when they're throwing. Batting practice, I do this all the time in BP, is, setting up targets throughout the cage. Maybe we set up a ball on a tee and we're working on driving the ball the other way. You get 10 points if you hit the back net. You get 5 points if you hit the L screen. But it's our job as coaches, 1, to show up with energy. 2, to have a plan so that when we get there, we're not all looking at each other like, all right, what should we do today? And we send the kids down the line to get warmed up. And before you know it, we're 20 minutes into practice and we're kind of going, on the fly. So we have to have energy, we have to be prepared, and then you have to create as many stations as possible to keep them moving, especially for some of you guys that are coaching 8, 9, 10 years old. They're going to lose focus just like this. So instead of just doing the traditional ground balls, fly balls, BP, create 3 different fielding stations. Maybe you've got a bare hand pick progression station, you've got the line drill, you've got a ground ball station. You do 3 8-minute stations, then you do 3 different variations of outfield work. You do batting practice, but when we do batting practice, we don't just have one kid hitting while 11 kids watch. We have one kid hitting, one kid doing side toss, one kid doing maybe mini wiffle balls, another guy standing and shadowing. So you create all these mini stations. You've got all these kids moving at once, and now practice isn't boring. And I can promise you this, I know it takes a little bit of time, but if you create a good practice plan, practice goes by like this. And for us, we have practice, we have the field utilization chart up here, just to kind of show you how we break down the field. But if you've got 12 guys, you got 4 guys doing a base running station, you got 4 guys doing an infield station, 4 guys doing an outfield station, and then the other group out in the batting cage is hitting. That's just a simple way of breaking down the field and utilizing all your space. But we've got our first practice tomorrow with 16U, and we have a meeting today just to go over, all right, well, we got 2 weeks until tournaments start. What has to be covered? And of course, we have a list like this. We can't cover it all at once, but we're gonna head into practice tomorrow with a plan. Every coach has a specific job. We're gonna delegate responsibility, and practice should be great. Yeah. But I think it's really taking the time. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. In all of our programs, we have our sample practice plans, like you can see right here, our field utilization chart. On our membership, we have over 15 sample practice plans. Our 8-week program, we have 8 consecutive weeks leading up to opening day on, how to best prepare your team for opening day. And we use that format right there. It shows you, the time column on the left, the activity, what coach is running which station, and then what area of the field you're using. So, you might only have one cage, you might not have a cage. That's okay, right? We just have to, have our coach's toolkit and go prepared and, do the best that you can do with the assistant coaches that you have, with the area that you have, to keep those kids moving and make sure you change it up from week to week. I can't express that enough. You got to keep practice, constantly moving, constantly changing. Don't get stale. Don't do the same drills over and over. That's where it becomes boring.